So it's like, I have this thing where if you cannot blossom locally, how do you want to contribute globally? Do you understand? It's like, you're not even anything, like you're not anything in the kind local space that you're avoiding so much. When you go to the big boys table, they're going to crush you because these people have learned to like
own their master.
They've learned to like master their craft. Like the big dogs are going to squash you because I feel like location matters, yes, but you have to excel in the smaller place first, or you have to thrive in this smaller place first. And so when you go, you still have a sense of self.
That is Chibogu Udeh, popularly known as Cookie. She's a blogger, traveler, and creative person. On this episode of The Simple Creative, we talk about being true to yourself as a creative, making the best of your current situation and location, and then we talked about the perks as well as the quirks of being a blogger. It is a very good episode and I'm so glad to share it with you. But before we get to that, if you would love to support the Simple Creative Podcast, there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can decide to support by leaving a review on iTunes or Apple Podcast. It takes just a couple of minutes to do, and I really appreciate everybody who has done it in the past. Thank you so much. It means a lot. You can also decide to share an episode with a friend, or you could create an Instagram DM. I love seeing these Instagram DMs where you tag me or the Simple Creative Podcast, and then you share your screenshots of the episode you're listening to, as well as, sharing the value you get out of the Simple Creative. That would really make more sense if you do that. So please continue to do that. Continue to share your thoughts with me. I love hearing and seeing where you get the most value out of the Simple Creative Podcast. Okay, well, let's get to the podcast. And this is Cookie. You're listening to The Simple Creative, the podcast for those bold enough to start up something from nothing. My name is Oladimeji Ajegbile. I'm a designer, podcaster, and a creative who is constantly pursuing and exploring what it means to live a simple yet meaningful life. On this podcast, I sit with creative persons who have been able to do this particular thing of starting up something from nothing. They tell us their stories, they take us through their process, and basically help others to make impact by starting up something from nothing. If you want more details, visit oladimeji.com/podcast. Again, it is oladimeji.com/podcast. So I remember when you were about moving to Ibadan a few months ago, and you reached out and, we started talking, and I realized that, you were quite interested and very enthusiastic about coming to Ibadan. And I didn't really understand why at first, because I'm like, who in their right senses would want to come to Ibadan? But what moved you actually to come to Ibadan?
Okay, this is actually really interesting. So as I was writing my final exams and everything, I started thinking, where do I want to go for NYSC, right? I kept on thinking, do I want to go to Lagos? Do I want to go to all these like places that people will naturally gravitate towards, right? But then I understood myself, like as the wise person would say, know thyself. I understood myself, and in understanding myself, I understood my financial capability, right? It was either go to Lagos and stay in a relative's place and, struggle, basically, because if we're being honest, they hadn't increased the alawi to 33k then, which is still a struggle price in my opinion, because the dollar rate just keeps increasing. So it's almost as if you guys didn't do anything, right? Yeah. So that time it was 19.8, and I was solely I was just working with the mindset that nobody's going to give you extra money, right? That was the mindset I had that time, and which was really, really good in my opinion. So I thought, okay, I'm doing this blogging thing because I considered my work, right? I'm doing this blogging thing, and I want to be going to Lagos. I want to have to go to all these events that they do so that I can finally meet people, put myself out there, right? But I don't think I can afford to be a comfortable person. In my own opinion, my own level of comfortable might not be what somebody else would consider comfortable. It might be maybe extravagant or something like that, right? But me, I just knew that the lifestyle I want in Lagos, maybe I didn't have the money for it then. Of course, I was thinking with my mentality that time, right? So I was like, but Ibadan is really close to Lagos. It's a really affordable city. It's somewhere that I can stay in and maybe save money from my side jobs and maybe from NYSC as well, and be in a really good house for more than half the price I would have been in Lagos, right? And still be able to go to Lagos. So it's save some money here, and then I can then go to Lagos and live my best life for a couple of days and then come back to Ibadan. unfortunately, Rona happened, and so
Yeah.
it has just been like, oh, stay in Lagos for more than you think, and nobody's really moving. Just basically, yeah, that was why I came to Ibadan, to be honest.
So I just remember that we started without any introduction. So can you just introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, first of all, hi guys. My name is Chibogu, but you can call me Cookie, and I'm a beauty, fashion, and lifestyle blogger / YouTuber. I am looking to add travel to this intro, but yeah, Rona. But yeah, just let's watch out for that, guys.
All right, awesome.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you go by Cookie. How did that start? Like, how did that come about? What inspired that name?
Okay. So basically I watched Empire. I feel like everybody watched season 1 of Empire, because after season 1 I think it just got dry.
I never saw Empire.
Dimeji, what?
You
What?
stopped at season 1. I
Even
never
though
watched
like
it.
I feel like everybody watched it at first, like that first time.
Oh, I
So
didn't.
that was it. Like I saw this like beautiful, this awesome like role of like a lead role for a woman, and like she was really feisty, she was really good, she was daring, she was, of course, like eventually her character unfolded, and like I wasn't sure anymore, but like I just liked the initial energy that they gave to her character, the life, the everything with it. So it was Taraji P. Henson, right? And so I really liked it, and I was like, okay, let me just change my Instagram handle, because I never really had like a cool nickname or anything like that, right? So I just like changed my Instagram handle. I wasn't really thinking that anybody in real life would start calling me my Instagram handle, to be honest. But eventually Instagram turned to what it turned to, and everybody started cooking me up and down, cookie this, cookie that. And so I was like, okay, and I just got with the memo.
So were there people who didn't really understand this particular, pursuit?
Yeah, definitely. Now there were people that were like, which one is Cookie? Which one are you doing? Like one time I remember something that was like, that thing was so painful. Like I asked the question on my Instagram caption, and obviously that whole, when you're starting out, nobody really cares what you're saying and nobody really cares what you're doing, right? And so I asked the question on my caption and nobody answered me. And that was the time, like before Game of Thrones became Game of Thrones, before it became a thing, I was really watching it. And so I asked the question. This was a really long time ago, I think 2017, right? Before it got really popular, 2018, one of these years, right? So I asked the question, nobody answered me, and then one of my cousins came and she was like, ignored. It's like you have to highlight that I was ignored. Like it was so painful, and then I had to start reporting to my friends, like, oh, see what this person did to me. And then they now came and started answering the question for me in the caption. So yeah,
Well, would you say like blogging has been fulfilling for you? Like, when did you start? Let's start from there.
Okay, I started in 2017. Actually, you know what? I said that I need to revisit this. When did I start question? But when I discovered what blogging was, when I discovered this whole thing that I liked to do, was in 2017, but it was a different name. It was a different niche. I started out on Blogspot as the West African Voice. So it was supposed to be me giving my opinions to political things, not really political, but like just general life stuff, because I don't even know what I know about politics. You get, like, it was so random. I was just supposed to type a lot and make my website fine and just say my mind, and just, eventually it just like evolved into blogging. So I evolved into fashion blogging, right? So I would say 2017 was definitely when I picked up a camera first, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take nice pictures and post myself and post what I'm doing and type my thoughts. But when I knew what I was doing, when I was sure of what I wanted to do, would be like 2019, to be honest, because there was a lot of like self-discovery. Yeah, actually, because I didn't know what I was doing. I'll just always go back and say, oh, this person did it like this, right? And then I'll be like, okay, maybe I can do something like similar to this around. Like, so I didn't really even have a sense of self. When it came to the true meaning of sense of self, I didn't really like have a sense of self. So yeah, that was it. But 2017 unofficially, but like I'd say officially, when I finally understood what like I was doing, I'd say 2019, to be honest. So or 2018 actually, but 2019, 2018, to be honest.
There's a lot of back and forth, and I think that goes to understanding that a lot of things you do in this life is trial and error. Like, you try it out at first, it doesn't work, you try it again. Like, nothing starts out as good. Like, there was this thing I read, and I talked about in one of my previous videos, that sometimes your first idea, don't stick to it, or don't stick with it, and definitely don't stick with your sixth idea. Just try and see how you can always keep improving, keep reinventing yourself. So most times when you ask people, where did you start from or what made you start, it's very difficult to tie a definite time. But then there is this joy you just have in understanding that you're actually doing what kind of gives you some sort of fulfillment.
Yes, I definitely feel like life is a journey and everything is like a movement. You don't have to continue with what you started from. If you check companies that started plenty years ago, like I was listening to this podcast, forgotten the name because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but yeah, like I was listening to this I think it's the Disruptive Entrepreneur.
Oh, I love that.
The guy was like, a lot of companies that started out as what they were, like giving, like just producing stuff, like a lot of companies that started like that, they have evolved over time. There's no company that continued and they were like, oh, this is what we are and this is what we'll continue doing. They're no longer alive. So you have to move with the times. Yeah. You have to start providing services. You have to add things to what you do. You just can't say, oh, this is what I am, point blank, period. Like you have to move with the times as well. So that's the same thing for me and blogging. Fun fact, I actually started with makeup, and for some strange reason I felt like I could do makeup, but the things surrounding me and like my family, my house, the way things were, you can't just go out and say, oh, I'm going to do somebody's makeup and not come back early. And these are things you can't control. But like content creation in my own house, I could control it. Like I can say, okay, they don't usually disturb me around this time to this time, so I can just take pictures. Nobody's going to send me on errands around this time because everybody has gone to work or everybody has done this, right? So it was something within my control. So I started with makeup, then I moved into blogging. And so I don't know what I'm going to move into next, right? Of course, I have an idea of what I want to be next or where I want to be next. But I feel like this is something that I always want to be doing, right? But I don't know the capacity, but I know what I want. Like when I close my eyes and think of my future, I know where I want to be, right? So I know this is, for a fact, this is a necessary step. This is a necessary thing that I need to be doing. So I feel like, yes, actually, I'm in the right space. I'm in the right position. I just feel right for where I am now. And yeah, choosing to come to this Ibadan, like you asked me before, like I feel like it really, really like coincides with where I am right now. And this is the end of my stay in Ibadan. This is unsolicited. You didn't ask me this, but I feel like, because I was asking myself a couple of days ago, like, do you feel like you used your complete 1 year very well? Do you feel like you used your time in Ibadan very well? Like, and it was difficult for me to answer, but genuinely, I feel like I did my best, and I'm okay with that. Like, I can work with that.
Well, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. And you could actually add this to the list, being like one of the things you accomplished in Ibadan.
Definitely.
I think you mentioned earlier that this is your first podcast.
Yeah, this is my first podcast. Actually, I've never,
So how does it feel?
It feels so. I feel like I'm a natural. Come through.
Yeah, you're actually a natural.
Yeah. For somebody that consumes a lot of podcast content, it's surprising that this is my first, and I'm so proud. I'm so grateful, and yeah, to think that you were my first friend in Ibadan, apart from like NYSC people that I saw in camp, namely one person, because it was literally one friend that I made in camp. But yeah, like
wow, that's amazing. So has been the hustle and bustle of trying to be a blogger in this very remote area, combining going out all by yourself, trying to take pictures, because Ibadan is not the kind of place where you have that kind of enthusiasm. So how do you manage to keep that up?
The thing is, coming from where I came from, because I feel like a lot of the times, I feel like for you to utilize the opportunity in front of you, or for you to see what is in front of you as an opportunity, you have to have been coming from somewhere, right? Yeah. I came from a place where before I take pictures, I have to call my friends and run out of my house, then do my makeup in my friend's house. Then before I come back to my house, I have to wipe my face and come back to. Do you understand? And now I'm in Ibadan where nobody's really saying anything to you, right? If I want to go out, I dress up and then I go and do the damn thing, and then I go and create content, and then I go. So it's mostly appreciation that I feel. So I don't feel like, oh, Ibadan is any type of thing, because for me personally, it is an upgrade. Do you understand?
Wow.
Not in the sense that, oh, there's plenty fine places to walk around, but in the sense of freedom to do the things I can do. So if I feel like, oh, Ibadan is not really, it doesn't have the nice places to take pictures or anything, I can go to Lagos, right? I can go to Lagos and stay with my friends and produce a bunch of content. And something for one I did was make my own space, make my house, make my room content aesthetically pleasing for me to create content. And that was something I did, and I was so keen on it, because what if you can't go to Lagos every time? Because what if you don't have money to like do that whole Lagos running around, right? So I made sure to do that at first. So I don't think Ibadan really, like, I'll say, was limiting for me. If anything, I feel like it was really freeing for me personally, counting it from where I came from. So the thing is, people that are already in Ibadan now, that have always been in Ibadan, I might understand where they are coming from. But because this is like a phase for me, it is really something that I'm grateful that happened for me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
In comparison to somebody that has always been here all their life.
You know, there's this narrative with us creatives thinking that the location doesn't really matter. You know, everybody thinks, you know, you have to be in the place where everything is hot and all bubbly.
Yeah.
And then if life puts you in a place where you didn't choose, then do you now say to yourself that you don't achieve anything because of that particular kind of limitation? Now, we think it's a limitation, but then sometimes it's just a blessing in disguise, because do you know the number of things I've been able to achieve just by being in this part of the country? Yeah, there are, you know, I want to be in places like Lagos or Abuja, but the truth is, that's not just me. So I'm here in this particular place. How can I make the best of it? Because we don't ask ourselves the very hard questions. We keep asking ourselves, why didn't I, you know, settle down in Lagos? Why didn't I settle down in this place? But we forget to ask ourselves, what am I supposed to be doing in this part that can change the way things are here? Like, I know a lot of creatives in Ibadan who don't tag Ibadan on their pictures on Instagram. They don't make people, they don't even want people to know that they are here. And I'm wondering, why would you do that? You know, why would you put Lagos on your tag and then a brand in Lagos reaches out to you and says, be like, oh, let's work together, and then you tell me you're in Ibadan? Transparency is quite... So there's this thing with online, you know, creatives. I'm not trying to really push too much into people's eyes, but a lot of creatives who do online stuff, because that's what we do mostly today, we hide behind this... you know, sort of anonymity. Is that the word?
Yeah, anonymity,
yeah. So we are behind that, thinking that nobody would, you know, see through that particular thing. And it gets to a point where you can't even control it anymore. Yeah. So there is so much of that happening right now. And, you know, do you think it's something that can be cautioned or be controlled? Because it's breaking a lot of careers. It's change, as in, it's making things terrible.
Okay, first thing I want to say is there's people in Lagos that are starving. Yeah. Right? There's people that are in Abuja that don't get jobs, right? And there's people in Ibadan that are living la vida loca.
Oh my
Do you get me? Like, there's people. So the most important thing is like blossoming anywhere you are. Like, definitely like blossoming in being great in what you're doing. So it's like, I have this thing where if you cannot blossom locally, how do you want to contribute globally? Do you understand? It's like, you're not even anything, like you're not anything in the kind local space that you're avoiding so much. When you go to the big boys table, they're going to crush you, because these people have learned to like
own their master,
you know, they've learned to like master their craft. Like the big dogs are going to squash you, because I feel like location matters, yes. But, you know, you have to excel in the smaller place first, or you have to thrive in this smaller place first. And so when you go, you still have a sense of self. You don't just go to the new place and then any breeze that blows, you follow it. But if you have a strong sense of self, a strong sense of your own creativity and what you can do by yourself, if you now go to a new place, it's like, okay, this is what I can do. I've done it here before. This is just a bigger stage. Let me see how I can improve from there. It's mostly about your personal journey, your personal self. Nobody is chasing you around. Like, nobody is going to say, oh, why didn't you do this? Even if people say it, if you have a sense of self, you're not going to be worried about that. Yeah.
Wow. So I just want us to do like a couple of questions, because on Instagram I decided to, you know, do like a question sticker. People should ask you questions, and your fans they asked a couple of questions. So don't feel too pressure, just, you know, flow with it. We knew that already. Yeah. You're natural at this. So okay, so Chronicles of Tej says that how do you feel about blogger cliques?
Okay, so how I feel about them. First of all, I will not say that I'm a clique person. I do have a group of friends, secondary school as well. Like, I feel naturally there's people that gravitate towards you and people you gravitate towards, right? And you people flow. So yes, I think there's nothing wrong with it. If you're somebody inside the clique and it is functioning for you, it's working for you, you have people that can push opportunities your way, especially if they're in the same niche or if they're in the same, you know, work environment as you. They'll be able to say, oh, this thing, I just saw this thing, I think it will look good for you. Or I saw this thing, it came to me, but I don't think it's for me. You know, here's an opportunity. So as somebody in the clique, it's very good. I feel like definitely people should have people in the same niche or clique that are looking out for them. However, if you're somebody that is not in the clique and you're looking at the clique from the outside, I understand that it can be like, overwhelming. It can be also these people only care about themselves, that sort of thing. I know how annoying it can be sometimes when you're looking from the outside. But my own opinion is that it's 2020. We almost died. Like, literally.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people have died.
Year.
This year has been so heavy. So it's like, just ask that question. If you feel like somebody inside that clique can help you, Obeni, reach out to them. Like, be like, hi, do you want to work with me? And they can say no. And then be like, okay, cool. Don't blame yourself. And then think about, okay, why do you think this person said no? Maybe I've not reached the level she thinks. And then go back and work on yourself and see how far, you can get before, you can now reach back out. Or even self, they'll be the ones reaching back out and feel guilty that, this babe asked me out before. So I say ask me out, but ask me to collaborate before. You get what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you need that rejection, or you never know, they might even agree, and then that's how you've scored the collaboration that your fear of self would have like stopped you from. So definitely reach out to one person at least. I'm not saying text everybody and be like, oh, you play a group of friends, can I be your friend? That's creepy.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
There's this increase in online communities right now, and you start to notice how if you belong to a community, it seems very cool. It seems interesting. But then gradually it starts to become overwhelming.
Definitely.
And it kind of gets choking when everybody's just all up in your face.
Definitely.
Thinking that, now you're one of us, and then you have to, submit to whatever it is we're
doing.
I don't object to being part of a community. But all I'm saying is know why you're there. Because the thing is, boundaries are things we try to, we don't form online. You state it. Like, people don't know about my personal life as a creative, and I do a lot of content on Instagram. Like, I think I have more than 800 different contents on Instagram. I do YouTube, I do a lot of things. And with me, people still don't know if I have 7 sisters or 9 sisters. People don't know if I'm married or single.
Yeah.
There are all these things. And I feel this online space, you need to actually define exactly who you are. Like, you define that you're a blogger, and then you have these 3 things you do, and then trying to add the 4th one. If you come tomorrow and say, you're married, or someone discovers that you're married, the person can get angry, or your community will get angry because you never took time to, mention that part of your life as what you do. So I feel online communities are great, but then understand, when to set the boundaries, because sometimes when these boundaries are breached, it can be devastating for both parties, whoever it is, maybe for you or for your community. So,
definitely.
Juju, she says that I really want to start blogging, but I don't know how to start. Like, how do I even create one?
Okay, first of all, how do you create one? That's why you have Google. I feel like as a creative or as a budding creative, you should really utilize Google. Like, we don't give Google enough credit for what it does for us, right? Like, type it anyhow. If it looks stupid, just type it. If it's like, oh, how do I start a blog? How to start? Literally, I'll naturally type how to start a blog for dummies. Literally, this is what I type when I don't know anything about something. I always add that for dummies so that I get the most dumbed down version of the explanation I want to find, right? Something you have now is the freedom to, still be flexible without anybody asking questions and saying, oh, what are you doing? Oh, you're like, oh, me too, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying new things out. And there's nothing wrong with trying new stuff out, right? People are going to maybe laugh or do side talk. But let me tell you, when it starts looking like something, they are going to, usually it's people that are too scared to start stuff that are always like, what are you doing? Because they want you to continue being in that space with them of not knowing what they are doing. So I'll say that you should just come out and start. And even if you're too, maybe you don't want to open a website because you feel like it's too much commitment, I feel like you should start on Instagram. Start posting stuff, start posting pictures. If you want to write, start writing, start with your caption. So I think just start, and then from there you can now know, okay, I've started, but I don't like talking about fashion. I'd rather talk about poetry. I'd rather talk about this. Just evolve and just be yourself. Just see, anything you want to do in this 2020, I'd suggest you just start it, because by December, an asteroid can just hit Earth or something can just happen. So just to be honest, just start.
Why did you mention that?
No, I'm serious, because I think NASA announced that there was an asteroid or something like that, right? So
there's so much vain glory in thinking things will just work out the way you want it. Like this year, actually, for your information, this is my very first podcast recording in person. Yay. Like this year. So I moved into this space in January, and I've never done any, recording with someone else this year. And I'm thinking, so this is September already.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. All right. So Faith E says, how do you avoid being overwhelmed by Instagram?
The classic overwhelming nature of Instagram. Well, to be honest, I think from a creator's point of view, I get when I see a lot of content on Instagram, because naturally I don't think I get like overwhelmed that easily, but sometimes as a creator, when I come and then I'm constantly seeing people producing content, churning out content, like bringing out stuff for me to see, I'm like, wow, how do these people do it? You know, they don't rest. Don't they have real life? Because my excuse is always, oh, see, I'm dealing with real life right now. Instagram can just wait. And the thing with Instagram is if you tell Instagram you can wait, Instagram will show you that it can wait and humble you. Like the algorithm will not favor you at all. So something I do when I feel that way is like, you know, these people don't have two heads. They are devoted. They probably have a strategy that works for them. They have like a routine that they are sticking to, right? And so what I do is I just log off and then I'm like, okay, let me rest, because quitting is not an option.
Yeah,
so just go back and rest and come back the next day and say, okay, let's now see how this is. And even sometimes you can talk to people around you. You can say, oh, this Instagram is not working. And then they will not be like, do you know how awesome you are? You know, sometimes you need that pep talk. It's not pride or anything. Sometimes you need people to say, okay, see how far you've come. Because girl, it's like you're now forgetting when you used to run to my house and wipe your makeup before you go home. Do you get? It's like you're forgetting things here.
True.
So don't look at anybody's journey. That's also important. Don't look at anybody's journey, because these people are not on the same journey as you. They don't have the same struggles that you have. They don't have the same parents that you have. Do you get? So some things that were issues for you might not have been issues for them, right? And so you're looking at them and you're like, wow. But you don't know what that person has struggled with behind closed doors. And even if they're not struggling with anything, just mind your own business, face your front, go out. Don't concern yourself too much with the personal affairs of somebody or what it seems like. Do you get? I just feel like, you know, when you're overwhelmed, rest, wake up, and then continue. That's it.
All right. So if you're listening to this right now and you're overwhelmed, 3 things to do. First, take a sit back, get a cup of water, drink, and mind your business.
Cheers.
Like, mind your business. All right, so this is from Anwuzo. I don't think I pronounced that right.
It's Anwuzo.
Anwuzo. All right, great. He says that, how did you combine 3 niches without confusing your audience?
Okay, first of all, I also think there's something, if you know about Apple and the branding of Apple and how Apple as a brand is, Steve Jobs said something. He said, people don't know what they want till you bring out that thing and show them. And then they're like, oh yeah, maybe we want this thing. Okay. And so they start wanting it, right?
Genius.
So I feel like, you know, anything you serve people, as long as you're serving it excellently, like they're going to want it. Right. And so I have seen people that how I combine mine is that they are the same thing. They're like interconnected. So it wasn't really difficult to say, oh, adding lifestyle to fashion or, you know, adding fashion to beauty. It wasn't really that big of a deal for me because they're already interconnected. But on the streets of the gram, I have also seen people that, you know, do things that are polar opposites. I was telling you the other time about like how Trevor Noah posted a girl, like she's Russian, so I can't pronounce her name. She's a ballerina, so she does ballet and she's also a professional swimmer. Wow. So underwater, she makes videos of where she's underwater walking upside down, Dimeji, and she has that, you know, that whole ballerina pose. Yes. And then she does her legs like that, and then she's walking with her head, obviously not with her head, but you know, it's upside down. It's not the normal way you would stand in a pool. Oh my goodness. And she'll be floating and then she'll be walking and dancing, and I'm like,
I would love to see
does
that.
She have 2 heads? What? So I've seen people combine the most insane things and they work. And look at me, I'm so fascinated by it and I'm watching it, and I'll definitely subscribe to whatever it is she's doing. And she's really young, she's like 17 or something. So I feel like whatever niche you like, if you're a chemical engineer and you also like putting on makeup, my dear, bring those calculations, put it for us and rub your makeup. We're going to watch it. I'm just telling you,
like just something unusual.
Yeah, something you want to do. If it's something you feel, oh, I like these 3 things and I can do it, combine them and do it, and voila, like we're moving. So yeah, I think people who collect whatever it is you serve them, you just don't. And that's why like there's different people doing different things, and you know, everybody likes everybody's different people's type of content. And of course, it's not everybody that will like what you have, but when you find the people that do, they will ride and they will, okay, maybe not die, but you get my point.
They might.
That's it. Like they will ride and they will die for what you have to offer. Like, you know, so yeah.
There's this thing with excellence that it naturally attracts people.
Definitely.
You don't have to really sweat too much. Well, when the glory comes. But then at the very beginning stage, oh my God, you will put in the work.
Definitely.
And, it gets me a lot when I still see people like, Oprah Winfrey, Kelvin Hart, and The Rock. This other guy, Joe Rogan, and a couple of other people. They still put in the work, and I'm wondering, wait, these guys are made already. Like they are self-made, and still, like I was watching, this video about Kelvin Hart's, routine and the way he does his life, like what he does every day. Every day at 5 a.m., this guy is up, goes to the gym and does everything the same way he did it yesterday. Like the level of commitment, the level of dedication. And you're wondering, wait, these people are already
where you think names. Is the highest. Yeah.
So why do they still go through all these things? And the very, it's hard to explain. Until you get there.
Something I think with this thing is that, excellence and stagnancy, they don't go hand in hand, right? So because life is a journey and because everything is constantly evolving, you can't stay at a place and be like, okay, yeah, I've made the name, you guys come and eat the name. No. Because the world is constantly revolving, the world is constantly turning. Everything, new things are coming up every day. There's newer people. There's people with more talent than you. That is where you need to keep putting in the work. And so anytime you feel like I've pushed and this is the limit, believe me, there's always a limit after that limit. Yeah. Every time. That's why when you go to the gym and then you feel like you've exercised enough and you can't do more, there's always a higher weight to carry. If you're lifting weights, there's always a higher thing. If you say, oh, I ran 5 kilometers today, tomorrow you can run 6. So I feel like they have understood this thing and you must always improve. Staying constantly at one spot is not going to help anybody. So, that's why they keep doing it. And so I feel like they've discovered that, to be excellent, you can't stand in one spot. You have to keep evolving. You have to keep learning. You have to keep growing. So that's it.
Well, are there like personal life principles you apply to yourself, like that you stick to? And these are like things that guide you and drive you to, just keep what you do and not get tired. Because I believe everybody needs that push. There's this fascination with so much of motivation, inspiration, mentorship, and all these things. And I'm saying it, you can see the cringe on my face. Yeah, it gets to a point where I feel people focus too much on these things. Yeah, and I'm like, so if those things don't happen,
negative positivity. I saw something today when I was reading stuff on LinkedIn. I know you guys be like, why are you reading LinkedIn? But I like to see personally, like my friend and I, we have this thing where we say that LinkedIn is like where people like glorify themselves. And it's good because then you can see people's achievements without it looking like bragging because it's in a professional environment, right? And I like to just read people's stories on LinkedIn. And I saw something about negative positivity where they're always like, be positive, be positive, be positive. And if you've read this book by Mark Manson, where The Subtle Art of Giving a Fuck, where he was like, there's nobody that is happy that stands in front of the mirror saying, I'm happy. I'm happy. Oh, I'm happy. I'm so happy today. So why are you standing and telling yourself that you're happy? Do you get what I'm saying? So personally, I would say that my middle name is Tired. Like, let me tell you, before anybody says anything to me, I'm like, please, I'm tired. Like, I can't kill myself. I'm tired. Right? So, yes, motivation is necessary, but something I tell myself, something that is a personal principle that I tell myself is like, you've come far. Like, it might not be a principle, but it's something I keep telling myself. I keep reminding myself that, you've come very far. You've really come far. And it's like, it's not something I feel like I don't even tell myself this enough, but I feel like looking at myself and understanding where I have come from, I tell myself, oh, see, you have actually come far. Forget it. Forget what any other person is doing. Forget what any other person is saying. What you tell yourself is what matters. And so I try to listen to my inner voice as much. And I try to surround myself with like people that will also like reinforce these things for me, because sometimes you can get carried away. You're like, you're not doing enough, when in fact you're doing the best that you can do in that particular situation, right? But because you're comparing yourself to other people, it feels as if it's not enough, when in fact this is the best you can do.
Exactly. All right, so there's a question from Iniga. She says, wait, there's been a lot of she's asking you questions.
Oh, that's my target audience. I have more females than males on my page.
All right, so she says that, how did you discover your own personal style?
Okay, how I discovered. First of all, for my personal style, I feel like it has evolved a lot because I used to look like a hot mess. I see pictures from the past.
Wait, how do you balance hot and mess? Good.
Like, I see pictures from the past and I'm like, girl, what were you thinking? Like, what were you putting on? But I feel for my personal style, it has evolved. First of all, with me understanding my body type, it's not everything you see somebody put on that will look nice on you, right? And so understanding, you're petite, you're like on the small side, even though people will beg to differ because it's like, you're average for a girl or anything like that. But I feel like I'm on the smaller side of the spectrum. And so when I'm choosing outfits, I'll naturally choose things that will work for my body type. And that has been the bedrock of my style. Not necessarily like trends. It's mostly for my own style. So even if something comes out and it is a trend, right, I'll check, okay, this is the new trend, but look at me, like, will it work for me? No. So definitely not moving with trends, because fast fashion will destroy you. Because if you feel like you have to buy every new item, you're gonna be broke and you probably look like a clown. So these are the two things that have been the bedrock, and mostly trial and error as well. I try some stuff out and I thought this would look nice. Because sometimes if you look in the mirror, if you're somebody that dresses up a lot, if you look in the mirror, you're like, this thing didn't look like it will fit, but it's perfect. And then sometimes you're like, this thing looks like it will fit a lot in my imagination. And then we put it on, you look like a clown. So that trial and error and those other two things, definitely.
Like, so how often do you think someone should experiment and try to bring out that golden spot in themselves?
To be honest, I don't think there is a particular spot that you get to and this is like, wow, this is it, eureka, like this is the golden spot, right? I personally, I can be lying down one day and I'll be like, because I'm constantly thinking of new content to create. I'm constantly thinking, how can I pair my clothes? Because obviously I can't be going about every week buying new clothes, because that's not how life works. Like, I'm working for this money and I need to be able to say, okay, I'm saving money. I need to be able to say, okay, I'm doing this with my money. Okay, I'm buying equipment. Okay, I'm doing this, right? I'm not going to buy clothes every time. So sometimes, because I'm constantly thinking about outfits, because I'm constantly thinking about, how do I style this that I had before or I already have, sometimes in my mind I'll just be like, when I pair this and this, how will it fit? That moment I stand up from my bed. If I can't stand up, I write it down in my notes app on my phone. If not, I stand up and I just wear two of them and I look at it and I look at it. That's trial and error. It doesn't mean you have to like wear it outside and look like a clown. First of all, your mirror can tell you. And if you're not too sure, you can take a selfie. You can take videos. I like to take videos and not selfies, because I feel like videos will show people more angles of what you're doing. So take like a 15-second video and send to my friends and be like, does this thing look somehow? Does it look weird? So that is it for me. Like, that's what I do. All
right. Okay, so we're moving to a section now that I call trivia. It's not anything serious, but it's kind of relates to your field. So I would want you to, mention 3 reputable bloggers in your field that people know, and then you choose one of them and then talk about something you love about what the person does, how the person does their things, and just anything you've learned from the person, basically.
Okay. First of all, the 3 people on my mind now are 3 African women, 3 Nigerian women, and believe me, like, it was not even intentional, but I think, you produce the type of content you consume. Not all the time, because these days I'm not into crime documentaries and all that.
CSI.
I'm not into all these history documentaries, history stuff basically. Yes. Right. Last week I was watching something about the Nazi people, like Nazis. Okay. So 3 women I would say that have really inspired me and I've watched over the years, and I've even seen how much they've evolved, are Esther Grams, Patricia Bright, and Dima Ome, because she's an honorable mention. She's Nigerian. 3 of them are Nigerian actually, but she's Nigerian living in Nigeria.
Oh, the struggles.
So she's very familiar with our daily struggles. Yeah. So somebody I would really like to talk about is probably Dima Ome, because it's a no-brainer. Of course, something 3 of them have in common is that they constantly show up. They always show up. It's like, every single time you're looking for content to consume, you're like, this person has something new. And you go there and, they don't disappoint. They have something new for you to look at. And it's so inspiring. Dima Ome, for one, she's from my town. She's not from my town, but she lived in my town. She grew up there. She went to my high school. Of course, she was my senior by a lot, but, she went to my high school, and seeing somebody from the hood, seeing somebody from my hood, seeing somebody from where I came from, doing this thing is just mind blowing. It's like, wow, if you can do this thing, then I definitely like, I need to continue. I need to see, like, even if this is not my bus stop, definitely I don't want this to be my like final bus stop, even though this is not where I'm going to stop. You know, it means if somebody has done it, can do it, is doing it, it means
you can also
I can also do it. So this is something that, you know, really keeps me going. Sometimes I'm like, look at all these people, and even people around me as well, like all these smaller bloggers as well, or YouTubers or whatever, that are just showing up. And you can see how, and the thing about growth is that when you get to that point, there's just a workflow that goes with it. It's like you've gotten to this point, they now just keep doing it. Yes. And I'm like, wow, if this person is doing this way, it means that maybe if I continue, when I get to that point, there's a certain level of discipline that just comes to you. Since you are now held at this high esteem, you now continue growing like that. So that's something I've also found. And yeah, that's basically it.
So do you feel this pressure that you probably be found out as probably being a fraud or not being who you say you are? Because, you know, now that we constantly put ourselves out there's this set of people that look up to us, sort of. You know, there are people that they always look forward to your new content. They always look forward to what's that new thing Cookie will say tomorrow. And then do you feel that thing, you know, this is what we call imposter syndrome, but do you feel that thing that kind of makes you feel like, I don't deserve this?
Oh my goodness. Something about this thing is, something that happens to me a lot is me saying stuff like, you know, nobody wants to learn anything from me. I better go and sit down. Like, you know how many times I've said this thing to myself. But then it's also like, please just get over yourself and go and do this thing. Like, even if it's one person that asks you for it, if you can't do it for one person, you probably won't do it for 10 people when 10 people ask you. And when 100 people ask you, you'll not be able to do it. So something I do is that, okay, if this person asks me, it means that there's something they are learning from it. So just do it anyways. As for feeling like a fraud, I don't think I ever feel like a fraud, because to be honest, I like to think that I don't do past myself. It's not even like to think I don't do. See, if I cannot do it, I won't do it. If I can't afford to do a certain thing, I will not do it. I won't. Will I still? Like, I won't do it. So I don't feel like a fraud. I don't feel like I will look like a fraud. I'm not going to recommend something I have not used, or like, you know, something I don't believe in. So yeah, I don't think I will feel like a fraud. But yes, imposter syndrome, yeah, definitely sometimes. But it's something that you have to talk yourself out of, to be honest. So
it's like a rabbit hole. The moment you accept it, it kind of starts to leave you, sort of. It's not like, it's like a, you know the way we go through these phases in life where we are experiencing something right now, something we know it's a permanent part of life. It has to happen. But then you get to that point where you just live with it. Do you get, like, you just, it becomes a natural part of you. It's like when, I'm trying to look for the best example for this, but it might be weird, so I'll just let it go. You know, for me, I know I'm the kind of person that every time something terrible happens to me, or something very little goes out of plan, my entire system's just shut down. Like, I start to panic, and it shows on my face. But then you notice that it gets to a point where you know that things like this would happen. So why not just flow with it? Like, just go with the flow. It's like maybe this thing has happened now. So what? You now want to end everything. So everything you now suffered for, why not just, okay, yes, it has happened, but let me put it aside and just perfect this thing now. Just do it and let it go out of my body. Instead of like going back, and regressing and pouting.
Yes, and then you now have to start planning it from the beginning again. Like, no. Eventually, I feel like it's something that comes with maturity, with time.
All right. So there is a couple of questions that are like a must ask on the episode. And one of them is actually new because it's like an introduction to the season 5. Okay. And then can you walk us through the process of how you create your content? Because I know your style videos are one that people look out for a lot. Yeah. And then some of your vlogs. So can you walk us through like your creation process? Okay.
How I create content, right? At first of all, I think about, okay, what do people want to see now? What am I in the frame of mind to create? Because sometimes it's not every time that you make vlogs, because to be honest, my life is not that interesting. I don't go out every day, and you can't just sit in front of your camera and be like, oh, this is a vlog, this is a daily going out vlog type of thing, right? So I think, what do people want to see? What am I in the mental and financial capability to create at this point, right? Because sometimes content deeply depends on your pockets, first of all. and, your mental state, like, okay, am I in the mood to do this or that, right? That's what I think about. And I try to think about it before I write my timetable, or like, the timetable of how I'm going to create stuff. Of course, you need to put structure to it so that people know that every day they are looking forward to this or something like that. That's the step one for me. I try to write it down. And then step two will be like to plan it. Be like, okay, this is the title of what I'm doing. Okay, so what is going to be the content of that thing? What is inside it? What can I put? What can I not put? Sometimes when you start writing down stuff for that particular thing, you now be like, oh, this thing can actually stand on its own, because then this thing is so broad. For example, like, let me say a YouTube video, be like, oh, this particular topic is even too broad self to be under this particular one. And then that's how you've also brought out something else. And then by the time I write it down, sometimes I type scripts, but not like word to word scripts, just like pointers. Okay. Yeah, just like pointers. And then I now see, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes I rehearse the intro a lot, and then I start. And then I try to be as natural as possible. If I need to research to do that thing, to just further solidify what I already know, I research, I do my Google, so that you don't come in front of a camera and look like an ignorant buffoon, right? That's something I do. For style videos, sometimes I know what I want to call the characters of my style videos before I do it, but sometimes it's like when I'm watching myself and then I'm like, what were you even doing here? Then I'll be like, I look like a mumu, something like, and then I just type, oh, mumu something, or just something relatable that my family members will probably yab me as before. So calling myself that and then putting it for people, they're like, oh my god, this thing is so funny, this thing, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely funny, because this is what they would have yabbed me as, or stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, so I think I watch some of your vlogs and I see this thing a lot. Please, can you do like a demonstration? Okay.
So this, like, when that whoa started. Oh. Whoa. I don't know how to sing the song, but you get that whoa thing. So when it started, every time, I try to do it, like even this TikTok dance. There's a lot of TikTok things that I try to do, and I'm just like, Jesus, don't try it again. Don't do it again. But this thing is stuck with me because I just like how it is. I don't know, like, it's just something that stuck with me. And then when I'm excited, I find myself doing this. Yeah. It's just so silly.
Watching some of your vlogs, and I see that, like, I know something interesting is
about to happen, or something exciting. Yeah,
really
definitely.
Interesting. This is what happens when people really put authenticity in what they do. Like, you really express your personality in what you do. That's why it's called a personal brand. I deal with brands and all these things, a lot of personal branding, consultations with people to help them discover who they are. And the irony is this: how do you help someone discover who they are? It seems insane, because you are the ones that should know who you are. But then there are some guidelines to help people realize that you are more to yourself than, a brother. You are more to yourself than someone's son. Definitely. You are more to yourself than, a designer or whatever it is you call yourself. So there's that part of you that you can actually bring out and really show people. And if you can successfully do that, trust me, that's when you start saying things like, I have fans. I don't really say I have fans, but people kind of look up to you. People appreciate what you do, and that's where it gets all interesting, because now it's not like you're selling your soul to just show up and be there, but then you love what you do. It comes natural to you, and you still show yourself as someone people can relate with. All right, so just about rounding up, now if there are limitations you've experienced doing what you do, and someone is listening to this right now and is exactly in that same position, are there like advice you have for people like that, what they can do, what they should not do? Because there is this, we live in this age where there's a lot of things, 5 things to do, 5 things to know, but then people don't talk about things not to do.
Okay,
so can you talk about some of these things?
Okay, limitations. I'll try to not give you the answer that we are supposed to give, and I'll try to give you the answer that genuinely I'll tell somebody that is going through like stress or a hard time or having limitations, basically, right? If you are having a limitation or something like that, don't be in denial. Accept that, yes, this is something that is limiting you. This is something that is making stuff difficult for you. Yep. Because for one, I think accepting, like coming to terms with it, like actually accepting and not being in denial is step one of actually like overcoming that thing. Knowing that, okay, yeah, this is a limitation I have. When you accept it, then stop focusing on it. Yes, this is what I have. And usually what comes with you accepting that, okay, this is a limitation for me now, is okay, I've accepted this is what's happening. What can I do differently? How can I just stop focusing on that thing that is the problem. Because sometimes we're so problem focused. We're so, this is the problem. This is the problem. Okay, yeah, this is the problem. Full stop. We can't do anything about it now, especially when you can't do anything about it at the moment. Shift your energy away from it. And when you start feeding energy to something else, more times than not, I can confidently tell you that those things sort themselves out. And even when they don't sort themselves out, you can get something from this other thing that you've started focusing on that can now help you dissolve that thing that looked like such a stumbling block. Like, say, for example, okay, for the longest time, I'm trying to think of something that was a limitation for me. I already told the story of how I used to run out of my house and, do my makeup in my friend's house and try to take pictures. And then before I go back home, maybe wipe my face or anything like that. So I don't look like I'm rubbing makeup every day or something like that. I don't know. But that was a limitation for me. Freedom, like, going out to like do stuff and just going out of my house generally, and being somebody that I always have a job, I always have something I'm doing. So even the times when I had jobs, even the time when I did my internship, and God, my internship was so stressful because I'd go to work at 7, I'll come back at 8 at night. So and it was a health thing, it was a laboratory, it was a hospital. So I was always meeting people, sick people. So what I'll do is that sometimes even after work or sometimes in between work, I'll run to somewhere and take pictures or do stuff with my friends. And then sometimes I'll be looking so tired, but the fulfillment that after seeing the first few pictures, I'll not be like, okay, wait, it's fine. Let me pose again and do it.
Yourself.
Yes, and then I'll retake these pictures. Freedom was a big limitation for me when I was still starting and everything before I moved to Ibadan. Like, of course, now it was NYSC, but what I saw was that I stopped focusing on that freedom being my limitation, and I started focusing on trying to work ways around what I currently have. Of course, I don't have the freedom to just wake up and be like, today I'm going to take pictures. No. So what I did was, the times that I have to even go out of the house, make that time like time that I can fit in some type of content creation inside. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the moment I stopped focusing on it, when I tell you that I started being more efficient, I stopped saying, that I cannot go out of my house. That I cannot do this. I started saying, okay, I'm going out of my house today. Since I'm going out, let me do my makeup. So even if I do my makeup, when I go to school to do whatever it is I want to do, my friends will be like, okay, let's now go out now. And then we'll all go out. And that's how I've created content. That's how I've done stuff. That's how I've so I focused on what I had the energy to do, because I did not have freedom. I focused on Instagram. Now that it looks like, I'm a little bit free, I can now do YouTube. I can now, so that it's not when you're recording, somebody will run in and be like, oh, come and warm soup. Do you get
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. This has really been a really productive episode. I really love this. So if people would love to find you and see the works you do and just know who Cookie is, where should they go to?
Okay, you can find me on all social platforms at Ace Cookie. On Instagram, Twitter, all social platforms basically, or you can just click on aestheticallycookie.com or acecookie.com. It will still lead you to the same website. And on YouTube, you can search for The Cookie or you can just click on the link on any of my bios on social media, and that's it.
All right, awesome. So before we go, this thing you probably need to teach me because I need to know how to do it. So, so we'll jump into a section now. We'll just try to do the demonstration.
Are you serious?
How it happens, okay?
Okay.
So now I'm doing the wall part.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to do this. I watch them on TikTok, but
okay.
So I'm just laying the background. So I'm a very difficult person that learns.
So what you have to do is bring one hand forward. Choose the hand you're bringing forward and upwards.
Okay.
Forward and upwards. Yeah.
All right.
Image.
It's not too high.
Yeah. Then the second one a little bit lower and backwards.
All right.
So what you have to do is to switch the positions, but then when you're coming back, you end with force.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm like Captain America.
Yes.
All right. So.
But you're not fighting. Image is not fight.
Okay. So just cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to do it on the count of 3.
All right.
So 3. Before you blow me,
Okay, let's give some space. Social distancing.
Okay,
all right.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think I pulled it out, so I should bring it back. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I did it.
I'm stressed. He said he did it. Okay,
I did it. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh.
You're not dragging gel.
I should.
Just be soft.
Oh, soft.
Yeah.
You remember that video I did? Hey. This makes so much sense.
But you get.
Yeah, I get. All right. So I'm serious now. Let's do it again.
3, 2, 1, go. Whoa.
Oh, I did it. Oh, awesome.